Thank you so much for being here today. Welcome to the Transportation, Airports, and Public Works meeting. Councilmember Kassaw, Councilmember Lawson, and myself, we are here because we want to ensure that excellent infrastructure that's well maintained and well operated. Thank you for those of you who are online and those who you see later. We're going to get right to the agenda. Do we have any consent items that we are unaware of at this time? We do not. We do not. Okay. So can we get an approval for the August 21st minutes? Go ahead, move for the approval. So moved. All right, then we will move right along. We're going to jump right into the general business with the IGA with RTD for the East Colfax BRT project operation. Who is our wonderful presenter? Is that you?
It's me.
Connie Campuzano? Okay, yep. Let's go.
Okay, thank you, Chair Hancock, members of the TAPS Committee. My name is Carly Campuzano. I'm the Deputy Director of Transportation and Mobility in the Public Works Department. And today I am presenting an intergovernmental agreement between Aurora and RTD for the East Colfax Bus Rapid Transit Project. And this is an operations and maintenance IGA. So for the agenda, since this had BRT related items haven't come to council for 1 to 2 years now, since 2023. So I thought for this presentation, I would give info on the overall background and some information on what BRT is before I get into the details about this IGA, just so that everybody knows where we're at with the overall project, since there's been a lot of movement on it lately, and a lot of interest, especially with what's going on in Denver. Yeah. So a lot of this will be overall background and project updates. And then I have one slide on what the IGA is towards the end. So a lot of it is just prep info. Project background. So this is the East Colfax Bus Rapid Transit, or BRT, as you'll hear me call it, project. The limits start at downtown Denver Union Station, in the area in yellow, and then the BRT goes through Denver in that blue section, and then into Aurora, through Aurora, and ends at I-225. So the project is really a big regional partnership that involves us at Aurora, City and County of Denver. They are leading the project and doing a lot of the management. Then RTD, the Regional Transportation District, and the Colorado Department of Transportation, or CDOT, since Colfax is a state highway. So those are all the main project partners. This project also has federal interest because it received a really large grant from the Federal Transit Administration, or the FTA, for $150 million. So about half of this project is funded by that FTA grant. So they're partners on this as well. And just an overview of how the project will work. The project has kind of 3 distinct segments that are going to look and feel different throughout the corridor. The yellow loop in that yellow downtown loop is going to be a side running. So the BRT will be on the side of the road, not in the middle. There are already dedicated bus lanes in part of that segment. So that will look a little more similar to how it looks now, but it will use that yellow loop you see. And then in the main Denver section, which is the blue section from the Civic Center station all the way to our project limits, the BRT will be center running with dedicated lanes. So in that section, you'll see platforms built up in the middle of the road. Some of them are already built or being built now. There will be the number of travel lanes will be reduced in that section, and there are also some parking impacts in that section. So that's the Denver section, dedicated lanes through the blue area. And then as we transition into the Aurora section, the BRT will be side running, and it will be mixed flow with traffic. So it'll feel a little more similar to how it is now. There aren't going to be dedicated lanes at this time for the BRT, but there are going to be other transit related improvements, and there will be some construction in Aurora with some different BRT elements that I will talk about in the Aurora section. So those are kind of the 3 distinct segments that I want to just go over as a really higher level overview. And then just a little more on the project background. This project's been going on for a long time, so excited to see it finally getting constructed and kind of almost done now. But the project kicked off in 2012 with some scoping. I want to highlight that there was a pretty extensive alternatives analysis done over 10 years ago as well. So to come to the BRT alternative, there were other alternatives looked at as well that included light rail, streetcar, kind of like what used to be on Colfax a long time ago. So that was an option, and different enhancements were looked at, but ultimately BRT was decided to be the preferred alternative. Different updates have gone to our council over the last decade on some of this. And then let's see, the center running BRT was introduced by Denver in the 2017 timeframe. And then a lot of movement has been going on recently, really since I'd say 2020. We've been going through the environmental clearance process. So different studies have been done, traffic studies, neighborhood community outreach. There have been public meetings. There was a dedicated Aurora public meeting in that time frame as well. And then recently in 2023 to 2024, the final design was done, which included Aurora as well. And then construction started about a year ago. There was a groundbreaking last October. And so construction is ongoing right now. We're in the construction and equipment acquisition phase. So this IGA that's for maintenance and operations is actually our third IGA on the project. We had an IGA with Denver in 2022 to pay for the design in Aurora. That was a little over $2 million, which was half of it since the grant paid for the other half. And then we also had a construction IGA with Denver in 2023 for the Aurora section of construction, which was a little over, I think, $11 million. And another half was paid for by the grant. So getting a lot of improvements in Aurora, but also capitalizing on that grant funding for that as well. So just wanted to give a little bit more information on what BRT features are. So when we talk about BRT, I think this is the most simple way I've heard it explained, is that it's kind of like light rail on wheels. It has a lot of elements that you would see more at like a light rail station, but it's still operated by buses and not on a fixed rail. And that cuts down a lot on cost. It's, I think, less than half the cost that light rail would be, but it's still a lot more fast and efficient. So that's part of how BRT was decided on. So some of the elements that it has, BRT has shelters. So there's protection for passengers, weather protection. There can be off-board fare collection so that people aren't boarding and trying to give the driver money and delaying that. It makes it a lot faster to collect the fare off of the bus. There could be level boarding, which I'll talk about a little more, I think, on one of the next couple slides. And then one big feature of BRT is that at least half of the route typically will have a dedicated lane for the bus. So for this, over half of the area in Denver, half of the route overall, so the area in Denver has a dedicated lane. So this whole section, even though Aurora doesn't have dedicated lanes, it's all considered BRT. And then there's additional branding elements. There's changes we can make to the signal to prioritize the buses, and other elements like then passenger information displays and things like that. And it also tends to be more frequent with all these investments than a standard bus would be. So to meet the FTA requirements, there are a minimum amount of features that the project needs to have for it to be considered for that funding and to be considered BRT. So one thing is that every station will have a shelter. So these are some of the existing shelters we have in Aurora that were installed by RTD with a project they did a few years ago. So in Aurora right now, there are a lot of stops that don't have any shelters. So all of them will at least have this type of shelter in Aurora. And then to meet the BRT requirements, there also have to be lit maps and scheduled displays and branding. So, and that along with having at least half the route be dedicated lane, those are kind of the minimum requirements to be considered BRT. But there are other strategies that are beyond the minimum requirements that we have evaluated. So back in 2020 or 2021, at the staff level, we looked at all the different elements that we could include for the BRT in Aurora. We looked at the costs, we looked at what the benefits could be, and we brought a proposal to council in 2021 with recommendations of what to include beyond the minimum. And so from that, we have decided to include signature stations at Havana and Colfax. It's our highest transfer point of all buses in the city. So, and there's enough space for it. So that was a great option to be able to include. So we'll have a station that's more enhanced, that looks more similar to the center platform stations in Denver, but it's still on the side of the road at Havana. We are going to have ticket vending machines so that people can buy their fare off board. We'll have variable message signs, a lot of which will have real-time bus arrival information so people know when to expect the bus. Security features are included, which include emergency phones, security, cameras, lighting are really important. And we heard from a lot of residents that those are really important elements for safety. So those are included. And then we also elected to include level boarding where we could at some key stations. Level boarding is where the curb is built up higher than a standard curb. And the reason is so that passengers with any mobility issues or disabilities can board more easily without the bus having to stop and either kneel down or have a ramp deployed or anything like that. So it improves the service for passengers and keeps the BRT on time as well. So those were included in Aurora. These are just some renderings that show how the differences and how they'll look. So on the left, you see renderings of how the BRT will look in Denver. So you see the fixed lanes, you see kind of the platforms in the middle with the enhanced stations on the left. And then in Aurora, these are renderings of Colfax and Havana. So you see we have level boarding. You can kind of see some of the elements that make it feel more like a light rail station. And then the enhanced shelters there you see as well. So those are some of the differences just with graphics. This is showing the overall construction timeline. I will also say that the project has a really good update or website that's updated really frequently at the link below. If you need it, I can also send it to you. They have different schedule updates you can pull up, lots of different metrics on what they're doing. They have some pictures and it's updated very, very frequently with different databases. So I just pulled this off of their website update. But basically, we have the contractor on board already. Kramer is the prime contractor. They've divided the project into segments. So there's 5 segments that they're working through with construction phasing. So right now there's work going on near Colorado. If you've driven the area, if you've driven it, then you've seen some of the big arches have been installed. Yes. They look really great. Some of those center running platforms have been installed and they're looking really good. And so the contractor's main plan is to kind of start from the west and work their way east. Also to try to, decrease impacts to the traveling public as much as they can. They are having to close more lanes and roads in Denver just because they're working in the middle of the road there. So there's really not a way to install a huge structure in the middle of the road without closing it. I do think the impacts in Aurora will be a lot less just because they're working on the side of the road. So they'll be able to do a lot more with shoulder work or lane closures instead of closing the whole thing. So they're basically on the border of segments 2 and 3. Where's Colorado? Yeah, they're working through 2 and 3 right now. They plan to be in Aurora early next year. So we think spring 2026 work will start in Aurora. I will definitely provide updates once we have a firm date. And we are, and then the work in Aurora will continue for about a year, but it won't be high impacts for a year. They'll just be having to do work at all the different stations in Aurora on either side of the road and different technology elements and things like that. Right now, we expect construction to be done towards the end of 2028 with full service opening 2027 with service opening in 2028 at the beginning of 2028. So just Aurora updates kind of on what's going on right now with Aurora. So we are having a lot of discussions with property owners. Any property owner who's near where we're doing kind of flat work and we need an easement from, they've already been contacted. We're working with them specifically on their needs and payments for those easements and having different meetings with them, working through explaining how construction will work so that their businesses aren't as impacted and they know what's going on. We're also working on small business support with our planning team. And we're going to be developing a business support plan for Aurora. There's already a lot of business support going on. It's more focused around Denver now because that's where the impacts are, but there are a lot of strategies that we're working on that'll carry forward into Denver too. So signs that say businesses are open. We've had arch lifting parties, which have been really, really fun. Actually, really good food along Colfax, I will say. Eating too much good food along Colfax. there have been a lot of things like that. There's a few dedicated staff that are just working on only small business support, and I think it's been really successful so far. But and like I said, the impacts are a lot higher in Denver than they will be in Aurora. So there will be some impacts in Aurora, but we're really also trying to explain to people what's going to happen because some of the businesses see the work in Denver and think it's going to be the exact same. So we're trying to do some proactive outreach so that people kind of know what to expect.
Okay.
We're also soliciting art for station canopies in the Aurora section. So I think it'll be some of us who are more art inclined will be excited about that.
Yes, I'm very excited about that.
Yes, and so this picture, I tried to draw a box around where the art will be in the canopy. So we're soliciting art from local artists. I say I am not the art person. I wish I was, but I've been told by a lot of people.
Public Places is working.
Yeah, so Art in Public Places is working hard on it. I think it'll turn out really, really well. So yeah, their team has been working really hard on this. So they're soliciting art and it'll be on print or not printed is probably not the right word, but it'll be installed on these
Put it on
canopies.
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it'll look nice. So more info to come on that, but that's ongoing right now. And then our staff, we have some staff that are just responding to requests from the contractor. They're trying to order equipment. They're sending us requests for information, and that's kind of ongoing too as they prep to be in Aurora. They will also be developing traffic control plans and a traffic phasing plan soon. Just so we know the impacts so that if there are high impacts in areas, we can help message that in advance, but it's still a little early for that. So that is what I was all an overview. This slide is really about what the IGA content is. So like I said, this is our third IGA for the project. We had the design IGA in 2022, construction IGA in 2023. It is an FTA requirement of the grant that we have a operations and maintenance IGA. They want to ensure that once this project is installed, that it's maintained well and to high quality standards. So that's part of the reason for it. The IGA is between us and RTD. So Denver and RTD will have their own separate IGA. This IGA covers some different elements. It has a table of what it covers, but it'll cover things like custodial services, graffiti removal, snow and ice removal, shelter repairs, other amenities. And so just at a higher level, the IGA says that Aurora will maintain the enhanced shelters at Colfax and Havana, and RTD maintains basically all other stations. And RTD is also maintaining the technology elements since those are integrated with their system, like the vending machines and variable message signs are RTD maintained. So the IGA doesn't include any funding changing hands. It basically just describes who does what, and then it'll be up to us to figure out like all the steps we need to do to implement that on our side. So that's what this IGA covers. And so the question is if the committee supports moving forward the resolution for the IGA between Aurora and RTD for the East, that's a lot of words, for the East Colfax BRT project for operations and maintenance to the next study session. And happy to answer questions. That's all.
That's an amazing presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing us up to speed.
Yeah.
I knew it was a long project, but good gravy. I mean, gee whiz, the speed of government, I just love it. When we talked about the funding towards the end, we've already got funding, right?
Correct. So we allocated funding in our capital projects fund about 4 years ago
Okay.
to do this and entered into an agreement with Denver, an IGA for design and then construction. Once we had a formal contractor and bids in place and understood cost.
So there won't be any extra costs that we are not aware of.
I don't think so. We are
They're like,
trying.
we're over, because we're gonna need a little money.
No, we
Okay.
really tried to sharpen our pencils to understand inflation that could happen, some of the risks and unknowns, just with kind of a lot of the different or special elements with the type of project. So we built in escalations and contingencies. I think right now we're actually trending a little under budget.
I love
And
that.
we're looking at what additional improvements we can do along Colfax to still be able to use the grant funding. So we're looking at different safety improvements. We're working with different groups, working with Laura, different city teams on how best to use that money along the corridor. But yeah, I do not expect us to be over budget. The art is a little different. I think the art we've had to pull from a different source because art isn't reimbursable from the grant, but that's already been done too. So I think we should be good. I don't want to jinx myself, but we're looking
No,
pretty
no,
good.
I don't want you to do that.
Okay.
I'm very impressed with how, again, the city of Aurora being the gold standard for how municipalities are run, how you have already anticipated, inflation and all those things to get ahead of that. I think that's stellar. I applaud you on that. And I know that Art Public Places is working on an amazing art piece to go in that station. I've seen some of the what is it, the proposals. It's gonna be uniquely Aurora, which I'm just so excited about. So well done. Thank you very much. Councilmember Kassaw,
Don't have
any
any
questions?
questions. Thank you.
Councilmember Lawson, do you have any
Y-
questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you. This is a wonderful presentation, so I do appreciate it. And I know we're just talking about the operations and maintenance, but something that I want to be a little proactive about is in terms of safety on these trains. This is a beautiful situation, but we do have to look at safety. Will there be something with an IGA, with RTD regarding safety on these? This is new and it's going to come all the way to Denver, but we still have to deal with those issues as well. So has there been some talks with RTD about safety on these lines?
I
Yeah,
know that RTD came in a few years ago and did a
Yeah.
presentation about how they're beefing up safety.
Well, I just want to say something. I work downtown and I really have to question them beefing up um, security. So on the train and also on the buses. So there's if you're really seeing reality, that's fine that they're saying that, but there's a lot of reality when you're actually seeing it. So I was just curious. I know that I'm calling the cart before the horse, but I do think we have to be proactive on that. So just curious on if there's talks about that with the city of Aurora.
yes, there are, and that's a great question, Councilmember Lawson. I appreciate you flagging that. I'm on meetings, I think every 2 or 3 weeks with RTD in Denver about that. That it's the top concern I think we hear from constituents and bus riders and everything. So we are looking at to see if it needs to be in an agreement with RTD and what that could look like. RTD, is very committed to prioritizing this line, but just getting that in writing that they'll dedicate more resources here could be a tough thing to do. That's also a really important thing that Denver's flagging too, though. So Denver is working with RTD on an agreement that might include some elements of that. I'm just not exactly sure what that'll entail. But all the police agencies are also working together and there's different working groups going on related to that. And that's why some of the technology components were added to these stations so that all the police agencies could work together more seamlessly and see what's going on and help get resources deployed. So I don't think there's a specific agreement that's solidified yet, but it is definitely top of mind for everyone and there's ongoing discussions with RTD about it.
Okay. And then Chair, just a comment, because if you want people to take public transportation, especially in light of things that have been happening around the world, and I'm not saying around the country, you really got to have a safety element. This is a beautiful plan. It's great. But if you don't have safety, people aren't going to get on the train or
Yeah,
people aren't going to take the bus.
yeah,
So I don't care if it's brand new or anything like that. If people don't feel safe, they're not gonna do it.
yeah,
So I'm glad that those talks are happening. So
yeah.
that's my only question and comment, Chair.
Yeah, that's a point well taken. I think it's something that we certainly, again, as you said, Carly, is top of mind. But I think we should still ask, regardless of how they feel about it, we should say, look, Colfax and Havana is a trouble spot. We know that already. And with the businesses that are closed in that right there, you have element of risk and danger there. And so I think it's really important for us to just say, hey, this is our concern. What are you guys going to do about it? And see what they say. I know that APD is, I went on a ride along a couple weeks ago. We circled that corridor. I mean, we were all over there and, they're committed to keeping that area safe too. So please, if you could engage in that, that would be fine. With that said, does the committee support moving forward on the resolution for the IGA between the city of Aurora and RTD for the East Colfax Bus Rapid Transit Project Operations and Maintenance to our next study session?
I support.
Yep.
You support. Well, fantastic. Well done. Thank you very much, Carly.
Good
You
job.
always do a stellar job on these things. We surely do appreciate that because You know, to your point, Councilmember Lawson, you know, the way we transport around this city, if we're encouraging people to do that, we need to make sure they can do it without being harassed or molested or, you know, feeling unsafe. We just have to do it. So ask people and use our leverage to leverage that if we need to. Do we have any miscellaneous matters for consideration?
I believe so.
We don't? Where's, I always want to call her you.
Lots on the line.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we gonna bring back the scooter discussion? Or is that gonna go to full council for discussion? Because I would like to bring back the scooter discussion.
So, we have put a pause on the application for the scooter program, and our plan is to bring that back next year.
Next
Well,
year?
for further conversation. So nothing will be moving forward without guidance from council.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I know you feel better about that, Councilmember Lawson. And it's so
I
funny
do.
because the day we had that discussion, I came out of my house and I live in a subdivision and there was a scooter parked in my driveway. And I'm like, where'd this scooter come from? And we called, and somebody came and picked it up. But I'm like, really? I'm way off the beaten path. Why is a scooter in my driveway? So I thank you for bringing that up, Councilmember Lawson, because I thought we were pausing on that. But thank you for confirming that, Laura. I appreciate that very much. So the anticipated topics for next meeting.
Yes, so next meeting, we'll have our street operations folks here to do the annual version of the snow and ice plan presentation. So that's topic one. And then we also have an IGA, a maintenance and operations IGA with Adams County that Miss Haley will be presenting for 38th Avenue next month. So
the final version.
Okay, wonderful.
those are our topics for next month.
So we're gonna be talking about snow and ice.
It's hard to believe, I know.
I know, right? Like I said earlier, this is my winter. Now let's go back to spring. Great. Well, I appreciate all the hard work you guys do in helping us maintain our city and our infrastructure. And Councilmember Lawson, do you have anything else to add?
No, I don't have anything else to. I'm pretty sure city staff is tired of hearing from me, so.
Oh, no,
Never.
we're never, because we are the ones. We have to do this thing. Councilmember
No, I
Kassaw.
don't have anything to add. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you all for your partnership. Oh,
Thank you.
Laura has something. I mean, we flew through so fast. I
We
was
did.
getting really excited.
I just wanted to have the opportunity to officially introduce and congratulate Kurt
Oh,
Mullemeyer.
yeah.
Kurt is our new Public Works Director
yeah.
of the department. Yes, officially. Kurt joins us. He's been with us almost a year now as our
Yep.
Deputy Director of Operations. Came to us from the city of Peoria, Arizona. And then prior to that, we're 27 years?
Yeah, 27
with
years.
Westminster.
Oh,
In their Public Works Department. So long
You have
experience.
a deep public works background.
Yeah.
Yes, and we are very lucky to have him at the city and very excited for him to take on this role for us. So,
Thank you.
yes.
Well, now you're official.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Expect the emails, calls, and letters.
You're welcome. Please.
There's no take back. Well, thank you all for all you do, because it's important as we, again, we are the example of the gold standard for how municipalities are run. And that's my goal for us in every facet, in every aspect, in every department in our city. And so thank you so much for serving so well. And if we don't have anything else, what is our next meeting, Laura? Tell them what they've won.
Next meeting is October 16th.
October 16th, same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. I give you the rest of your day. Thank you so much. That was fun.
The business starts to slow down. as we